Hi, my name is Alexandra Catulli, and I will be doing an analysis of An American in Paris. Now, I felt that overall, An American in Paris was more of an expression of art as opposed to like a hard-hitting romantic or action or comedy movie. This is mainly due to just the general artistic nature of the actual movie, because the movie just incorporated so much amazing ballet, tap, just dance in general, modern. The incorporation of it all was really artistic, and plus the architecture of France just makes every scene seems like it's coming out of a painting. And also the costumes were, for some of the dance numbers were just really colorful and intricate and just downright gorgeous. And I felt like every little bit of this movie was just a piece of art, as opposed to you're just having these close-ups on a person's face to get the raw emotion, even though that was in this movie as well. Now, one of my favorite aspects of this movie was the fact that a lot of the musical numbers were really natural in the scene in which they were a part of. Like the first one. It just showed, the first actual song. It shows three guys hanging around a piano, singing their hearts out, acting like dorks, and not really having a care of the world, just discussing their taste in music. And my favorite part of this scene was the fact that the extras in the background had turned around and gathered around this little cafe to watch these three sing and dance and even applauded for them afterwards, which I find is really different to the musicals that we see nowadays. Nowadays, a lot of these musicals, no one is really, going to surround the person who is singing and be like, what are they doing? And what is going on? And generally questioning what is happening. They just assume this is normal, like this happens every day. It just seems a bit weird, and I felt like I could connect with how these musical numbers came up more naturally. Like, it just seems like this is a regular day. This is all happening normally. Bunch of guys hanging around and just start singing. I felt like that felt a bit more natural the way it occurred, as opposed to after some big fight. The main character goes out and sings a beautiful and powerful ballad about how they feel about this and how they're going to change their ways and how everything's going to change afterwards. I just felt like that was a very different aspect of musicals that I was not used to seeing, and I really enjoyed it. Now, there are a lot of really different musical numbers throughout this movie that I enjoyed incredibly so, and I felt like every single one was different in its own way. It just incorporated the sets more. There were so many different types of costumes, especially in the 17-minute finale ballet, which is extraordinary. And I think one of the really interesting ways that these musical numbers were incorporated was like the very first musical number, where Henri is describing his fiancée, Lisa, and just how he described her in all these different conflicting ways. I found it really creative that as he describes her, she is dancing and trying to incorporate the different characteristics, which is really great use of dance. And I also found it really interesting how the sets were primarily solid color, despite the fact that every part of it was so ornate. If you look at the chairs in the background, you can see that it's really nicely carved, and all these different things that it seems like if they're in typical colors, that they would have been exquisite pieces of furniture and really kind of distracting to the dance number. So I found it really interesting how they used solid colors in order to focus the scene upon the dancer. And I felt like that was a really effective use of the set, because I wasn't focused on everything around it until I watched the movie a second time. I was really critiquing and looking for different little pieces of it. I found that I was focusing so much on the dancer and how she was moving and how she was just being intrigued as to what she was going to do next in terms of the movie. And I just found that to be a really unique kind of number. Now, my favorite overall number in the movie was probably one of the more simple ones, and it was I Got Rhythm. And I really particularly like this scene because I found that once again, it was a really natural thing. Jerry is being followed by all the little French kids asking for bubblegum and to learn English words, and it seems like something that would really happen in 50s in France, and just seems kind of like something that would happen normally there. And my favorite part of it was how he teaches these little kids different English words and then gets them to say, I got, and then he'll say rhythm in his beautiful voice. And I just feel like how he incorporates the innocence of the children of France into this beautiful song was a really creative way of doing this. And also the usage of tap dancing and the sound of the tap shoes into the background music was also a really great use of the sound. Because in a lot of his other films, Gene Kelly is often seen tap dancing, and I forget the exact name of one of his scenes, but there is one where he takes different ordinary objects, splits them, and creates his own musical number using newspapers and dustpans and mops. And I feel like he's incorporating the same ideas into this movie with using the tap dance as a part of the music, as a part of the background music of the song. And I felt like that was a really unique part and different from the other parts in the movie. Now, for the final part of the final number, I think I honestly, I have to mention it because it is a 17-minute long ballet, and it is one of the most incredible pieces of art. Because every little part of that scene is art. The set is made to mimic specific types of original artistic works, ranging from Toulouse-Lautrec, Utrillo, to even Van Gogh. And I felt like how they made the scenes with the 30 painters to spend weeks creating it all turned out so, and it was just beautiful. And the way that they used the characters from the paintings as dance characters and have them move from scene to scene, telling a kind of a true love story of how it's basically the same story as the movie, but it's being shown through art, true art. And I felt that every aspect of that scene brought out the art in it. The set designs, the ballet, the musical numbers, the costumes, the extraordinary costumes, I felt brought everything out so much more. Just the way that how the dancers would move and the beautiful dresses would flow with it, how everything would change from scene to scene, how they incorporated what seemed to be like an Abraham Lincoln coming up with a piece of art strapped onto him, and Jerry and Lise move into the next scene with that next character that Jerry would portray as the person clad head to toe in tan spandex. And I felt like the way it just moved was so beautiful, and I feel like it was in such contrast as well with the ball scene before it. Because that ball scene, it was all in black and white. Granted, it had some incredible costumes and were so exquisite, but I felt like it was opposite to kind of the sad despair that Jerry was feeling at the time, clad in black and white. The love of his life had just left him. I felt like it was just the opposite as to what he was feeling beforehand, and set it up beautifully for the next scene when Lisa comes back for him. I just felt like everything about this movie just flows from one scene to the next. Every piece of it was art. It was just an incredible movie, and I was so happy to be seeing it. And there's not much more to say about it, but I hope this analysis was great. I wrote everything out on my notes and ad-libbed it quite a bit. There's just so much to say about this movie. I wish I had more time, but I'm running on 10 minutes. And I'm sorry about the lighting. I am doing this outside since there are construction workers currently in my house trying to clean some things up. So I apologize for the lighting. It's getting dark. I better head inside. And I look forward to finals week. Thank you so much.